Hi, welcome to Kestryl and Company. I'm Kestryl, your host. Over the next few episodes, we're going to be talking a lot about family issues and different kinds of family structures. And a lot of that is surrounded around the fact that I'm pregnant right now. We're going to be going through my pregnancy and dealing with family issues along the way. Today we're going to be talking with two members of one of the Coven families in the area, the Foxmore group, and I have Sterling and Ninky with me here today. Welcome to my circle.
Hello.
Hi, thanks.
Nice to meet you.
A lot of people out there aren't going to know what's a Coven family. So let's start out with what the heck is a Coven family?
We're part of it.
It's more of a spiritual family rather than you're born, you get the parents who you come into. When you are born in life, you kind of get the parents you have. And a Coven family is more like parents you choose and brothers and sisters you choose. And a lot of it is brotherhood and sisterhood. And there's a lot of equality within that group and that structure.
It's the believing in past life and having had past lives. You choose the parents you want to come in, who you want to have, to bring you into this world. But there's other people you want to meet up who you've spent time with, and you've spent time moving on the same path and growing in a lot of the same manners. So you meet back up with them.
Well, I know that in my particular coven, all of our people are pretty much family members. We aren't necessarily as close as I know that Foxmore is from loosely associating with them for a while now. But so explain to me a little bit more about what Foxmore is. What does Foxmore do that's more tight than a lot of coven groups?
Foxmore is traditionally a Celtic coven, and a lot of the traditions we follow come from the old Druidic of Celtic Europe, as well as a lot of the cultures there, besides the Druidic, the pagan cultures. So it's a lot of it based in tradition, and there's a lot of respect for the masculine and the feminine, the men and the women. There's a lot of acknowledgement that men and women are different, and sometimes the tasks end up being a little different because of that.
What brings us together, though, is that you have the high priestess, who is set up as the mother figure. And going through the seasons, she is the mother figure. You have the high priest, who is set up as the father, and then you have the handmaiden, and you have each person has their place, and a lot of them are like your brothers and sisters, with the high priest and the high priestess taking on the mother-father role, and that's what brings us together. The high priest is your disciplinarian. Listen, we've got a problem here. You're screwing up. Or, hey, okay, let's fix this. That's his position. And it is for where you can go to someone and say, wow, look what I've done, or gee, I'm trying to figure this out and I want to make it better. It brings us together because we're all working for a common good and we're all doing it together, which in a family sense means we also fight and argue among ourselves.
I was going to say, sibling rivalry?
There's a little sibling rivalry.
Oh, there is.
I think that we're extremely different people, and the only thing, the common thread that connects us is Wicca, is the path we've chosen to walk. And so there's a little sibling rivalry sometimes, and we'll argue amongst ourselves sometimes. Sometimes there's a little friction, but we all very much have a deep respect for each other. And it's okay if it's within the coven that someone says something about somebody else, or they say something to that person, if you can be a little bit more gentle, if you can be a little bit nicer, you can have a little more patience, if you can get your act together, if you can show up on time. But when it comes to people outside, it's just like a family. If someone picks a fight with your brother, you're going to beat that person up, even though your brother did something wrong. It's just that natural territory that you want to protect.
Fight or believe in violence.
No.
But
well, that's a lot of people that have ever studied Celtic history. They're going to go, well, the Celts, boy, they were just a bloody bunch of people, and oh my, But it's like I said in several of our other shows, I think we've all grown up quite a bit. I mean, we're not the only ones that had a bloody history. And I think, I don't know, somewhere down the line, I think blood is a part of almost, bloodletting is almost a part of almost every spiritual growing process.
Well,
we all have to.
The blood is the spiritual connection with your brothers and your sisters. It's the life force.
What I know that Foxmore being a family group, you're going to have a lot of family issues, you know, babies coming along and children and
We just had a new addition.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's 2 months now.
2 months now. We've had a little boy, a covener of ours, a sister, had a little baby, so that becomes part of the family and a part of everyone's family.
What kind of things, like of a ritual sort, did you do for her and for the baby?
There was a blessing.
There is a child blessing. There's a traditional Celtic child blessing in which the high priestess gave, alone with the child, to give him all the blessings and all the protections in life.
It was delivered by our high priestess in a home birth, yes.
Yeah.
So that was a very special event. It was delivered into this world by her, and that was very nice. So it was delivered by Mom.
I think that's I've had 2 home births out of my 4 so far, and I think that that's really wonderful because especially my last one, I was surrounded by coveners at the time, and that was very helpful for me in that when the energy got really intense, I could just send it out through the coven and they could just sort of disperse it, you know, give me back just enough that I needed to continue with the labor, and that was really helpful. But with this baby, it's going to be a little bit different in that because the father is a first-time parent, and you know, although I'm an old hand at it, he's going, oh, I'm not sure I want to do this at all. And so, you know, we've decided that it's very possible we'll be in the hospital, but my coven is meeting in my home, so I still have that spiritual link to latch on to.
There's always
what do smaller children have as a part of your group?
They have what's called a wickening. If they choose that they want to learn more, but they're still at, like, we have one that's a 10-year-old, and his name is Lars, and then we have another girl who is considering it, and she's in her teens, and we have what's called a wickening for them, and it introduces them to it, and it kind of puts their feet in the water and let them, rather than saying thrusting them into the whole thing completely, it lets them test the ground and feel the water and to grow in it. And we have gatherings that they come to, and they're a big part of the family. And
I know one of the issues that's kind of sets off parental arguments in the community a lot of the time is how much involvement should little kids have, you know, when they're little, and then there are the pagan parents who are like, my parents forced me to be Christian, and by God, my kid's going to be a pagan. You know, I'm not going to have my kid growing up in a Christian church. And that's one of the things that I'm advocating is getting your child to let them feel the waters of everything, you know, and let them try for themselves.
Free will, let them make their own decisions. Although they were born to a pagan parent doesn't mean that they're pagan. You know, they may have their own path, and I think you have to acknowledge that.
What it's going to mean is they have the free will to choose whatever religion they want, but they're not going to go out there and speak bad of the craft and the beliefs of pagans, because they know that they've seen the inside of what's happening, and it's not the stereotypical wart on the nose whole thing. It's a lot different, and they're not going to go out with that misconception. And that is the really beautiful thing about it, because that can help to change the future.
Usually with younger ones, we wait until they're no longer minors, they're 18, before initiation, because it's a step you want to take when you're an adult and make sure you're an adult.
Yeah, I agree with that. I had a very interesting discussion with one of the the elders of the craft in this particular, in the United States. He was here doing a tour. And we had a very in-depth conversation, because ever since I've been doing the show, I've had a lot of young people, 15, 16, 17 years old, writing me and saying, this is what I've always believed in, and oh gosh, I'm so glad you're out there, and would you teach me? And the first thing I have to tell them is, have you talked to your parents? Because if they have particularly fundamentalist children, of course, because of the legal ramifications, I can't take them on as a student. And I was talking to this gentleman about that, and the first thing that he came up with was, if it's the true calling of their heart, they can wait that 2 or 3 years. And in the meantime, they can do little things on their own, and they can start studying on their own. And it's nothing that they have to lie to their parents about. They don't have to sneak around to get to Coven meetings and things like that. But I think it's also important to give them a support group that they can come to and they can talk to.
We offer
Absolutely.
seminars and things where they can come and talk about things from crystals to herbs to astrology,
numerology,
and cats. We offer, we just had one. So that's
I adopted a cat from your high priestess.
But we offer seminars. That's to the people who either are searching or aren't sure yet, or like being a solitaire, but like getting together and learning and having the atmosphere. So we offer that for anyone of any generation to come through and to learn. And that's a great way for younger people who are searching but not quite sure, but they really feel they've been there. So it offers that.
One of the things that I've been real happy about when in the Foxmore group reaching out and doing that kind of thing in the local area, and a lot of other stores, doing that type of outreach program, letting people know where they can come to do classes and things, and where they can find tools and such like that. I think also it's very important to realize that everybody that starts out in the craft, whether they start out at 16 or 18, or whether they've been doing it all their lives, or whether they start out at 60, we all start as neophytes. And I think in the craft, the word neophyte has sort of become a bad word. Neophyte.
I know what I'm doing.
And, it's really funny because sometimes in having so many students, a high priestess can get, like myself, can get really bogged down and feel really old. It's like, oh, I have all these people leaning on me and relying on me and looking to me for all of their teaching. And then I can go to someone like your high priestess, who's a good deal older than myself, and she goes, you're a pup. And it really helps to keep your life in perspective.
And it helps because in the process you're teaching the neophyte or the person who's learning to stand on their own feet, and that's one of the great things about it. It's because as a family, everybody has their problems, and there's going to be the people there to help you, but they're going to help you because you're helping yourself and you're trying to fix it.
And they'll kick your butt when you need it.
Yeah, and that's the most wonderful things, because sometimes we get so close-eyed, and it's like someone to say, well, we have sayings like grow past it, grow over it, and there's some I can't mention.
We sometimes get in our ruts.
And there's little catchphrases that we can just yell at ourselves in our minds, so we don't have to go to her and say, yell at me.
Yeah. Part of having those spiritual parents is learning to be a parent for yourself.
And be the child.
And be the child. Because all of those things are within us, like all of the God and all of Goddess and all their aspects. All of those are within us.
I think the one thing that's been so wonderful is that when Coven families sort of touch each other, and they present that sense of community and meshing. I know that when it came to be public knowledge that I was pregnant, I was getting like a call of the week from the Foxmore group going, well, I've got baby clothes, I've got diapers, I've got this, that, and the other thing, and I'm going, that's great. Well, because of the Foxmore group, I probably don't have to buy anything when this baby gets here, which is great for me, but
we have 3 or 4 moms, so we have lots of baby clothes.
And everybody's willing. The wonderful thing about it is if you're trying, even sometimes if you're not trying as much as you should, there's always going to be someone there. You're never alone. You are never alone in this world, and it takes not being alone to get things done. Because when we think on a large scale in the thought of the world and what needs to be done in the world, and it starts, I heard someone else talking about starting locally. Well, it does start locally to get things done. And it's just, we do work. We work within ourselves to make sure everybody's taken care of, because when you work on yourself, you can then reach out and help everybody else. And it works that way. And we all help each other, and that's the good thing.
I remember when I first started hearing about Foxmore, about 3 years ago, when I first started getting really involved in the pagan community here. And I heard funny little rumors about the high priestess, she's this big, she's this big boogity goddess, and then I met her, and I'm like, well, okay, I can see she's a real powerful lady, but she's not going to zap you for looking at her. And I think that one of the really neat things is that Foxmore, as much as they are active in the community, they still stay in that family structure. But you talk about Foxmore, and pretty soon there's so-and-so Foxmore and so-and-so Foxmore, and it looks like they're everywhere. How many are there?
Active or inactive?
Both.
There's over 200 that have been initiated into Foxmore, and that have come through via the lady, and there are 15 active right now. That we need a bigger room because fitting them all in there.
We have a coven room, but it's getting kind of crowded because we're sitting down with 11, now 15. You know,
and we've got 3 more people who want to, are taking the roads to initiation and looking for it, and it's going to get tight in there. It's going to get really.
Well, I've noticed that there's in some coven groups there's control. There's controls put on the size of a group. Our coven is 13 members, and that's all there is to it.
Traditionally, that is the rule, but also part of that rule is a coven of 13 or multiples thereof, and that has to do with the lesson of 13.
Sounds like you guys are headed for a multiple.
Yes. I've had high numbers mentioned to me. But it happens when you try to affect the environment, when you try to affect the community that you're living in, that you pull in people to help you do that. And when the 11 of us become very tight in ourselves and understand where each other is at and where the working parts of each person and how it adds to the whole, we'll then add a few more in there.
Being a part of a family like this and having started to construct a family like this, they always say, well, you can't choose your family. Well, I turn around and say, who says? I mean, I think you do choose your family, and it's not just your blood relatives.
Right.
There are families out there that their blood relatives aren't all that great, and so sometimes their spiritual families can be even closer to them than their blood families because they have chosen them. Do you find that true in your family?
Well,
it's been said that we choose the parents that we are born through for whatever reason, whether
for that bad experience,
for
that wonderful experience,
for whether it may be helping them or helping us or the sharing. And I'm very glad that I have the parents I do, and my relationship with them is very strong. It is a wonderful thing to have a spiritual family, a family that I've chosen, because become more selective and are able to work for those things that we are trying to get into our lives, trying to learn trust, trying to learn love.
And an unconditional love. And that means accepting everybody for who they are, good points, bad points, just accepting it. And
it's just finding people with similar beliefs that, it's shared.
Do you find that difficult when you get new members, getting the unconditional love part to come in there?
From them or from ourselves? Because either way, it's
both.
A growth.
I mean, it's really, sure it is. But I mean, when you first meet somebody, and they say, well, this is a possibility of a coven member. I know that, they don't just automatically come in and say, boom, hi, I'm a coven member. But
usually there are classes for maybe half a year, and then if they really want to be initiated, there's maybe a couple of months up to another half year to a year of working towards it.
But
and the people that we get in are usually some of the best people we've ever seen.
And how we felt as members of Foxmore, it's not really, the choice is not up to us, it's up to our high priestess. Because being a high priestess, you know what you take on. When you say yes, come on in, be part of my family. You take on another child. You don't have just 4 children right now.
I don't.
You have, I don't know how many are in your coven, but it's not just 4 children.
I have the 4 that were born to me, and then I have 8 or 10 more out
there.
Correct.
And so it's the choice. We may like that person. We may have some kind of difficulty, but we've all had problems in our life, and it's the understanding that goes with that. But the decision's not up to us. It doesn't really, it's not our decision. It's up to the high priestess. And I think she has a great choice anyway. So.
Yeah, high
So
priestess.
far, everybody I've met, she's got real good taste.
Yeah, and she also works with us a lot. She helps us grow in incredible leaps and bounds.
The reason I
Kicking
giggle,
and screaming sometimes.
Sometimes kicking and screaming.
The reason that I giggle is because I've spent a lot of time in the Crystal Fox, in the store, and when your high priestess is there, almost invariably there's at least 5 phone calls, a kid checking in.
Yeah.
You know. And, you know, occasionally she's sitting there going, well, yeah, and you know, you can tell it's just a normal check-in call. Other times she's like, she goes around the corner, it's like, you know, you can tell something's going on, but, you know, that's why I giggle, you know, because I think everybody grows in leaps and bounds and kicking and screaming for some of it, you know, we all do. And, you know, I'm amazed when I meet people like her who have been at it for so long and doing it for so many people, and I'm going, 200 people.
Well, 200 through Foxmore.
Yeah.
Perhaps a little bit more beforehand.
Yeah.
She's lost count. She said over 100 and I lost count.
Yeah, it's a lot of people, but
the way to understand the high priestess is to think of her as the heart of the coven. And that's sort of her role. Sort of like the priests sometimes work as a little guard or safety point, because she is very open spiritually and very open psychically. So sort of like where Dad is the disciplinarian, the high priestess is sort of the disciplinarian. High priest. High priest is the disciplinarian.
The high priestess gets occasionally to be the disciplinarian, trust me.
Yeah, she does.
Yeah.
That really depends on the situation.
In being a mother, you know, your kids start to toddle, you know, and they start to run, and you see them getting ready to trip over this big rock. I mean, there's no way that they can't see the rock, you know, but, you know, you go to catch them and you realize, nope, I got to let them trip over the darn rock, you know. Maybe I'll have to suture the cuts when they're done, but, and that's really, it's hard. It's not an easy job. And there are an awful lot of pagans that come into it, and they go, oh, wow, to be a high priestess. And then they get a really good look at the job description, and they go,
first degree.
Maybe I don't want to do that. Maybe I'll just be a witch at large. I'm just going to stick with that for a while. I also know that in a quote-unquote normal mainstream family, blood family, you've got brothers and sisters. You know, you've got one brother or one sister that you're particularly close to. Does that happen in your Coven family as well?
Yeah, I think so. I think that we all have our kinships with different people, but there's no one that we aren't connected to in some very special way. And we may spend more time with one person than with another. But it's sort of like sometimes you spend time with your brothers kind of playing, and then Dad is there to learn from, or Mom is there to learn from.
And sometimes it changes. Sterling's been in there longer than I have. He's been 4 years. I'm sure it's changed for him, but I just know over the time that I've been here, it's changed. There's been some people that I initially started out with very close to, and now more people that I'm closer to and moving to. And it changes. I think it changes as the individual changes who is in there. And
we're all growing.
But I know each one of them, and they know everybody knows everyone, and there is a tie there. But that only happens over time.
We've talked a lot about the advantages of the spiritual family. What's maybe a couple of the disadvantages, just
There
quickly?
are no secrets within inside of it. Everybody knows. Something can happen. You may do something really stupid. I fell asleep in class one night. There was maybe 5 people there, but everybody knew. You know, it's kind of like
Ninky fell asleep in class.
Yeah, you know, it's like there are some secrets. I'm not saying that, but a lot of our belief is to have fun. All acts of joy and laughter. We even have a page about that in our paper we put out. But the things that make you laugh, and life is to be fun.
Well, I think everybody, you know, in the craft, they have this tendency to just get entirely too serious about themselves. You know, we're Wiccans and we have to be serious about this.
There's a job to be done.
You know,
It's
like
got to be done seriously.
In my coven, we have specific rituals that are done in order to be stupid. You know, because everyone has to learn to make fun of themselves and really be...
We have our looser times. We have sometimes our classes where pizza is at the center of that circle.
You know.
and other times it is more serious and more growing.
Well, I'm glad that you two could come on and be with us today. I think that people learning about spiritual families and extended families is something that's real important.
Well, it's been said you can't be a witch alone.
That's true. You can't. In this community, it's too big. But I'm looking forward to getting to know more of the Foxmoors.
Looking forward to see you more.
Absolutely.
Thank you for joining us on Kestryl and Company today, and I hope you'll join us again. Blessed be.
Blessed be.
Blessed be.
Sure, we do our little cakes and wine thing here.
Thank you. Oh, Oreos.
Fun stuff.